My name is Emma Kapp. I'm part of the communications team at Moritz College of Law, and today I'm here with Professor Amy Schmitz. Professor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Amy Schmitz. I'm excited to talk about AI and all the cool things that are happening here at Moritz.
Wonderful. So to get us started, I think we just want to start with the big picture. Does AI have a place in the legal landscape?
Yes, absolutely. It is transforming the practice of law, and it's really transforming the duty of technological competence, which is part of the ethical duty of lawyers. And I think it's really essential that law schools are teaching about AI, are understanding AI, and that we're looking under the hood to think about responsible AI.
That's great. So looking under the hood, obviously a lot of things continuing to develop and grow in the landscape of AI. What are some of the big questions that you're examining in regards to AI and the law?
No, I mean, this is where I wish there were more hours in the day. And how long do you have? Like 6-7 weeks to talk about this? Because there's so many big questions. For me, right now, I'm really focused on a few different aspects. You know, number one, we are seeing there was an executive order, and under that executive order, the National Institute for Standards and Technology is looking at how can we manage risk around AI, and I've been working with a group from Ohio State to help in kind of defining what that looks like, with a focus on, for me, responsible use of AI. Secondly, I've been very interested in how it could actually be used for good. We learn so much about bias and all the bad ways that AI can infect our lives, but what about the good ways that we could use AI to promote things like access to justice? And then finally, I think legal education. How can we help our students learn to use AI as a tool for problem solving instead of problem creating, and to see those problems and realize when you need to be sure not to use AI as well.
I love what you said about looking at it and using it for good. I was wondering if you could expand a little bit more on the relationship between AI and access to justice.
Oh, yeah. So again, I do think there's two aspects, right? In fact, I guess I sort of like simple. I like to keep things simple. So AI, it's not all good, it's not all bad, it's how you use it. And so I think on the one hand, we do have to think about how it can harm access to justice, even in subtle ways. I mean, we've learned quite a bit in recent years about bias that can be baked into that AI, which is absolutely a problem. But in addition, there's other ways that can harm individuals, consumers in particular, different ways that it's being used to assess, for example, what kind of deals you're offered, or your insurance rates, or jobs. And I think that could impinge or hinder access to justice. But in addition, I think there's ways that we could use AI to expand human intelligence. So instead of artificial intelligence, let's think about augmented intelligence, using technology to perhaps help self-represented litigants and to expand access to voice, access to remedies, and hopefully access to justice.
That's fantastic. So a lot of opportunities there too. And I know you just received your second Fulbright award to study this kind of work. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. How will this help kind of move that work along?
Yeah, no, I'm super passionate about that and how I can connect it with Justice Tech, which is a new program that I'm starting here at Moritz College of Law and at Ohio State, and sort of look at it comparative. So this is super fun because I get to work with counterparts in Europe and to think about, all right, comparative analysis and some ideas around how can we actually create curriculum that involves students, both from computer sciences and from law, having them work together to design and build responsible AI and responsible technologies that could be used for self-represented litigants and to help for others to expand voice, to expand access to remedies in areas where people cannot afford a lawyer and in areas where often there is no assistance, even legal aid is not available. And so that is really the challenge, but it makes it kind of fun and exciting since it's this new area. And being able to work with counterparts in Europe to see and learn from them and learn from each other, I think can create really cool synergies. So that's what I'm going to be doing on the Fulbright.
That's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, especially in Spain.
Yes.
Not a bad place to go, right?
Switching gears a little bit now to talk more about legal education and the use of AI. Can you tell us about some ways that AI is currently being used in legal training and education?
Yeah, I mean, so we'll be focusing and learning more and more and having students actually really learn what goes into AI and how does it actually function, so that then you can use it as a problem-solving tool, and that will happen in my Justice Tech course. But also we're seeing it being used in other courses, including legal writing, legal research. We have a group here at Moritz College of Law, I'm working with others, where we're focused on thinking about ways that we can use AI in the curriculum, right? So that students actually are challenged to use AI for output, for research, for things, so that they learn also the limits of AI, right? Because what you learn once you play with it and once you use it is that it's not good at plenty of things. And that is also important, right? And I think that's a big piece, is to learn when not to use technology.
We were talking a little bit about educating students on when it is good to use AI and when maybe it's not as good of an option. How will this knowledge help prepare the future lawyers and leaders of the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. I think the law schools that are ignoring AI will be left behind, because it is transforming every area, right? It's transforming our lives in so many ways that we don't even realize right now, and sometimes in bad ways too. I mean, that's another big issue, is to think about the human plus machine and psychology and how that fits into it. And so I think it's important for students to understand the limits as well as the uses of AI, so that they don't go out and make unethical mistakes like those lawyers in New York who used GPT to cite cases, right? That was not right. You don't use a hammer when you need a screwdriver, right? And I think for law students as well, it's important to learn the limits of these different AI tools, to find out that, hey, that is not the right way to use that, right? If you're going to use it, these make sense, but this does not. And I think that's really important, again, getting back to the duty of technological competence, which is part of an ethical duty for a lawyer.
Absolutely, and with so much going on too, there's so much to always be learning. Could you talk a little bit about some of the projects that you're working on here at Ohio State around AI?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Justice Tech project and what we're going to be doing, especially because it involves students, and I love the idea of both pedagogy that actually has a purpose, right? Where you're actually working on projects that can help real people with real problems here in Ohio. And I think as the land-grant university, it's our duty to be helping people here in Ohio. And specifically, two of the projects we're working on, one of them is around expanding access to remedies, access to voice, and truancy issues. After COVID, there's really been a problem in terms of children who are missing school and what happens with that, right? And understanding, well, oftentimes there's a problem that needs to be solved, and figuring out what are all the different pieces and how can we bring these resources to bear in a way that's very accessible. Using technology, you actually can bring together many different resources through an app or other sort of use of technology that's very user-friendly. And so we're developing that in that area. And then also using mediation in order to resolve any disputes that do occur around truancy and why that's happening. Additionally, eviction, homelessness, and the unhoused, it's really a major problem here in Columbus. And so thinking about, well, how can we use technology in order to sort of bring in these different resources, wraparound resources that one might need when they're losing their home, and also bringing in online mediation in order to resolve disputes between landlords and tenants so that people can remain in their homes, and around eviction in particular. So those are two of the main projects, but we have many more on the pipeline that we're working on with the Justice Tech program.
Very exciting, a lot to come there.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
So my last question for you kind of gets to the timeliness of this all. Why is it so important that we examine and look into AI now, make it a priority?
Oh, absolutely, because again, going back to it's not all good, it's not all bad, it's how you use it, right? And so we really do have to create sort of frameworks so that we can think about responsible use now before it gets out of hand, so that we are using it responsibly and that we're being intentional and thoughtful. And really using all of our different resources that we have here on campus. And that's, I think, also important to note is, you know, the College of Law is not alone, right? We have I work with the Translational Data Analytics Institute, and I'm the co-director, one of the co-directors for Responsible Data Science. And so through that opportunity, I get to work with computer sciences, and I get to work with other people so that we can look at these issues in a multidisciplinary way. And I think the time is now that we break down silos. We work together across campus at Ohio State to really tackle these really huge societal issues that are coming down the pipeline every day. And if you ignore it, it'll be 10 times worse. So it's really important to embrace opportunities in order to be responsible in the ways that we use technology. And then also to think about the cool ways that we use technology for good. To me, that's super exciting. All too often we look at the negative, but I like to sort of also think about the positive.
Absolutely. Lots of positives to come through and a lot more work to be done and things to look into.
This is true.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for your time.
Oh no, thank you. It's super fun. I'll talk about this all day.